guys, I'm going to be starting another book review. This time reviewing the core manual for Kill Team. Now, I got this separately. I didn't get it with the box. I don't have any of the extra bits and pieces. Might consider getting the Space Wolf box later, but frankly, it'll depend how much money I've got. There's going to be another multi-episode one, but I'm not going to go to 8 episodes this time because despite the fact it is a substantially thicker book, I don't really need to go into quite as much depth with this rule book. Start off with your basic introduction as to what Kill Team is, what Kill Teams are, explaining you need tokens and what they do. It goes on to a section called Shadow War, which basically explains the concept of Kill Team and squad warfare within the 40k universe, and how special forces and special forces type units can swing the tide of a battle or a longer term. Jesus, I'm tired, my brain's lost it. Or, god damn it, no. Or a long-term settle battles to achieve an objective, what happens in a single place. Somebody will be able to PM what that is for me, but PM, put in the notes what that is for me. My brain is completely frizzled at the moment. It goes on to describe heroes and how it tends to be the elites and the cool guys, and how each one has its own speciality. Goes through the theatres of war and the types of battles you can have. All that cool descriptive fluff and information before it even gets to the rules. It's worth noting at the front of each of these is a fantastic piece of artwork. Kind of hoping these will be available as posters at some point. Maybe when they do Kill Team White Dwarfs, you'll get posters in the middle. It used to happen once upon a time. But yeah, run through the basic core rules. What you need, how you fight a battle, what the players are. It gives you basic random determination and gives a shout out to the base game Warhammer 40k. For those of you who may have come in completely new on Kill Team, there is a larger scale war game called Warhammer 40k, which you can see there, that Kill Team is based on. Many of the rules are very similar. You just don't go into anywhere near as much detail because you fight with massive armies. There then is a supermassive version of that called Apocalypse, where you fight with titans, massive war machines, hundreds of troops, and you lose days of your lives. I think the longest I've ever spent on an Apocalypse game was 4 weeks, but that was about 40,000 points aside, and one of the players was playing Imperial Guard. It was his birthday. That's the only reason we played that game. Each of his turns took 4 hours, and after about 4 or 5 weeks possibly, nobody won. We just gave up. Yeah, it just got to the point where we just lost the will to live and didn't want to play anymore. For reasonable sized games, Apocalypse is actually one of the most fun and fantastic ways to lose a day with your mates. It goes through data sheets, giving you the specifics of how a data sheet works, and covering the stats and bits and pieces like that. Also, with a quick shout out to modifying characters, it goes through weapons and points, forces, and aura abilities, giving you a couple of example data sheets there. It has a ton of them in the back of the book, and that's really awesome. It goes through the battle rounds, what order you do things. Obviously, you've got your initiative, your movement, your psychic, your shooting, your fighting, and your morale phase. Very similar to 8th Ed, the game on which obviously it was based. It's got rules on rerolls, roll-offs, sequencing, and at the beginning of phases before it moves on to your movement phase. Again, I'm not going to go to the specific rules. You really want to buy the book for that. But again, very similar to 40k in how it works. Worth noting, it mentions the fly rule a lot, because the fly rule affects lots of bits and pieces in charging in that. It may be a topic worth discussion on one of the many Warhammer boards or on some of the Facebook pages as to whether or not the errata to the Warhammer fly rule should be applied to Kill Team. For those of you who don't know, this is recorded about a week after the big FAQ hit. So how that big FAQ is going to affect everything, and how it's going to potentially affect Kill Team, if at all, is still in flux. We've had a lot of people saying, oh, it's ruined the game for this, or it's made these people unkillable. Frankly, I tend to play in more friendly circles, and apart from a few common sense updates, we haven't really noticed that much of a difference. But, you know, you tend to make a lot of allowances and stuff like that as to spirit rather than rule. You've got your normal move, you're falling back, you're advancing, which is very standard. You've got readying, which instead of making a normal, you can ready your character to prepare it to do other stuff, which is cool. You've got charging and the charge sequence, again broken down into its own little sequence. Again, very similar to 40k. Apart from, obviously, they don't have to go into the extra detail of if a model makes it into contact, the unit's in contact, etc., etc., because you're only charging with one model at a time. The most important rule, as far as I'm concerned, the most important rule is don't be a dick. But basically, if you get a situation which you can't figure out, have a talk with your opponent, see if you can't figure out a quick fix, and then keep on playing the game and you're having fun, rather than having to stop and refer to the rulebook each time. It's got a note on wobbly model syndrome and reinforcements. Go through the psychic phase. I was quite interested to see the psychic phase in here. There are a few psychic models, but not that many. Quite a few forces don't have any psychic models in them at all, which leads me to believe we're going to be getting more, and we're going to be dragging in psychers and potentially other characters for Kill Team as time goes by, which is something I'm really excited to see. Either that, or these phases are just meant for one or two badasses. You've got the Deny the Witch, which is fairly normal. Psychic test, you've got Perils of the Warp on doubles. Double ones or double sixes, sorry. And Resolve powers. Again, there are limited psychic powers in this. I'm hoping more psychic powers will become available as the game expands. Then moves on to your shooting phase, which is quite nifty. Again, fairly similar to 40k. A few bits and pieces, weapons types. You know, it covers rapid fire, pistol, heavy, and so on and so forth. There are differences, but not too many. It covers obscured. You've got long range and things like that. And there are a few bits and pieces and such as well, including toughness rolls and so on and so forth. Injury rolls. It has a section called flesh wounds. Basically, you roll a dice. If you don't kill somebody, they get a flesh wound. Those flesh wounds apply negative modifiers to your characters when they try and do things. It has the out of action thing. When a character is killed, it's said to be out of action. That's for the campaign. There you go. That was what I was looking for earlier. He says out of action rather than killed. This is for the campaign mode, where an out of action character might not necessarily be dead. It covers invulnerable saves and mortal wounds, with mortal wounds overriding invulnerable saves. We're going through the fight phase, which is your close combat. Again, very similar to 40k, with a few differences to adapt it to one-to-one combat. You then go to the morale phase, and again, all very similar to 40k. The morale phase is probably the most different, being as, you can't lose troops in a unit because each warrior is fighting as his own unit rather than as a, well, they are fighting as a cohesive unit, but they're not fighting in unit formation as they would do in a larger battle, so it is different. You'd have seen, you'd have gone, oh, 40k, 40k, 40k. That's because I can't really discuss, well, I'm not going to really discuss the details. If you want the details of it, you really need to read the book. But the rules are basic, they're simple, they're easy to understand, easily written. The way this differs from 40k is what you need to adapt it to a single game, which is if characters are out of action or have been injured or are in pain, etc., or shaken. Rather, yeah. So yeah, that's it. If any model is shaken or out of action, it adds a negative. Well, it adds a positive modifier, so it increases the number on your morale roll. Friendly models that aren't shaken or out of action add a negative modifier. In this case, negative is good, positive is bad. In most other cases, it's the other way around. Obviously, the book goes through the stats and how each of the stats work, but the stats are fundamentally the same as 40k, basically covering movement, weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength, toughness, wounds, attacks, leaderships, and saves. They have an additional one which is max, which tells you how many of certain types of troops you can take. For example, you can only take one leader, and you can only take 1 or 2 gunners, which are your specialist weapons troops, and so on and so forth. That's the basic beginning of it. After this, it goes on to some other stuff, which I will cover in the next video. I hope to see you guys then. Thanks very much. Bye. Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. Or you can head over to my Patreon page and support me directly. Remember, it's your support that allows me to do this. Until next time, see you around.